It's now time for the Being Wrong segment here on People I Know show, and George Francis Kane is my guest today. George, we'll do a little recap of everything else that we've talked about by the end of this, but first, I'm curious, as you look back on your life, is there something that stands out specifically that you can say with confidence that you were wrong about?
Well, sure. There are areas in which I've grown. I can think of one that just about everyone of my age has grown on. That would be GLBTQ rights. Of course, I never thought much about it, but never regarded them highly until it became a political rights issue. And then, of course, I was sympathetic to them, but not well educated in the matter. And I thought, well, there should be some institution in which they can enter into a relationship and have legal rights within that they otherwise would not. But so why not design such an institution? Why try to take marriage, which is an institution that was designed for a totally different reason of procreation? Mm-hmm. And then learning more about it, found that, well, no, they don't need anything completely different. It's really the same relationship as standard marriage. And so eventually I was persuaded to that.
I think I had a similar path on that. Like the civil union, I thought was a good middle ground. And
yeah.
Like, you know what? People are people. Two people want to commit to their life together, and the term is marriage that we use. So this seems to work pretty well now. And as we get further away from the point in time where that became legally okay, I think it just seems to be more and more accepted by more and more people, which obviously is a good thing for those people that are specifically involved in that type of a situation. A few things that we talked about earlier in the episode, and the reason for this podcast at this moment in time is Freethought Toastmasters, where George and I first met. He founded the club nearly 20 years ago, and we have an open house on the 20th of May. It's a Monday night, beginning at 6:30 in St. Paul. All the details will be attached to this video if you want to find it. But George helped me explain that if someone shows up to our Toastmasters Club on that night, besides some pizza,
yes,
and some other beverages, including some wine,
that's right,
what they'll find, what benefit someone might get out of coming to a Freethought Toastmasters meeting, or if not that one, any Toastmasters meeting in general.
Right. First off, people do start gathering here a half hour before the meeting is gaveled to order. So please come at 6, and pizza will be available. We will I'm sure that we'll have food before the meeting for this meeting instead of after. And we'd like to get to know you. So come early, get a chance to meet some of us and chat about it, and be glad to explain anything that happens during the course of a meeting. Toastmasters do some strange things that are a bit formal and might seem a bit strange to someone who hasn't been through it before. For example, we applaud a lot. I've heard one person say that Toastmasters is an applause cult, but we try to be supportive of each other. And
but there's no one standing in front waving an applause sign or anything.
That's right.
It's pretty easy to catch on and figure that out on your own.
That's right. And also, we tend to address each other with formal names like Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. General Evaluator, and so on, which referring to function rather than the actual person's name. And that's helpful in some clubs. If you go to a lot of different clubs, you'll have to address someone when you don't know his name. So it's nice to be able to address him by the role he has at the meeting.
For sure.
So we may do things that you don't understand, and that's okay. If we do anything that seems peculiar to you, feel free to raise your hand, and the Toastmaster will be glad to call on you and answer the question that you've got. So it's a very non-threatening, low-pressure environment.
We invite anybody to come join us to see what our club is specifically about and meet the members. And at the very least, obviously both of us have found great value. You for much longer than I have, but in the couple years, 2.5 years I've been involved, I'm realizing I'll probably be in Toastmasters moving forward, just to continue, have a space in my life to get better at something, public speaking, without it being, every time I have to public speak, being a very, very important speech, just to get better at it in the meantime. So if there are important speeches coming along at some point, whatever they might be, whether it's at a wedding or some other personal function, or maybe something in a career that I'm developing, that I'll be better at it, and I'll be more confident when I step up there and have a chance to make an impact with the words that I say.
Yeah, and one thing that I find, I've been to a lot of different Toastmasters clubs in different areas, and everyone seems to love his Toastmasters club. But no one understands, well, why should I do anything outside the club? It's this club that I like. And Toastmasters actually offers a lot of opportunities, especially in leadership and other forms of growth outside of the club, starting with being an area director, and then a division director, and then joining the trio, and maybe an international director. And I've had a lot of friends who've gone through that and advanced to very high ranks in Toastmasters International. And one of the members of our club, in fact, is currently an important member of the district leadership. She is the district cartographer, and is the person who's responsible for coming up with all the alignment, with coming up with new divisions and new areas and so on.
That's, yeah, we're pretty special to have cartographer in our group, and Heather does a good job with that. So that's, again, the 20th of May, 6:30 start time officially, but if you came at 6 o'clock, the details will be attached to this video in some way. And then we have a full episode ahead of this that we just talked, that's available on peopleiknowshow.com and all the apps for podcasts where you'll find People I Know Show. So please check it out, learn a little bit more about George. George has been one of the many people in recent years that have impacted my life in some way, and having created this club that I get to come to a couple times a month, it's helped me, and
that means a lot to me to hear that.
I appreciate that it exists, and I found a little home here, and maybe someone else watching this right now might be able to say the same things if they show up and check out a meeting once and then eventually join. So thank you for the conversation today, George, and I hope to see some new faces on May 20th. And for some reason you can't make it that day, the first and third Monday every month, anyone's welcome. Show up and we'll show you what it's all about, and maybe you'll join, maybe not, but hopefully it's worth your while. And I think for the people that show up, it is worth just to see what's going on in the world and try some new things out.
Okay.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.